Oklahoma State team than in the first matchup. Mentioned how much the length and size on all 5 spots bothered Oklahoma State. They are much more aggressive. Utah, and I would have done the same thing coming out of the gate. They're going to keep being isolated in on the post because of what happened that previous matchup. We saw Sumnick, who's not really a scorer, finish inside. And right there, that's about as strong a move as Avery has made in a long time. So we'll see if Craig Smith makes any adjustments now that Oklahoma State is at least showing some aggressiveness and going at the chin of some of these big defenders.
Might be the Big 12 6th man of the year, 5th in the nation in scoring among players who have not started a game this season. Steve Lutz, the Oklahoma State coach, said, I would play him more if we got better effort defensively.
Well, he is probably their most talented offensive player because he can play the 3 or 4 and really shoots the 3 great, especially from the top of the key area.
Oklahoma State with a run and jump defense. Waleed shovels it, and he turns it over. Already the 3rd Utah turnover. And 5 of Oklahoma State's last 7 opponents have shot over 50% from the floor. Utah started 2 for 7, 28%. What's been different?
Well, just defensively, I think Oklahoma State's engaged. And you don't want to predicate your confidence based on shots going down or not. I mean, it's not a way to win at the Big 12 level, but go back to the opening possession where Usman hit a 15-footer. It's almost like that went in, and you could see the countenance of those 5 Oklahoma State players was really lifted.
Thompson's 3 for 3. A first-half hat trick from distance. Oklahoma State has their largest lead 7 minutes in. Erickson after the shot fake. Lost it out of bounds. It'll stay with Utah on this end.
Well, Oklahoma State will continue to ride Thompson, and if you followed him in his career, like we said, he gets 1 to go down, and then they usually come in bunches behind it. That's pretty well guarded right there. Contested, but Thompson, the damage had already been done because he'd already made 2 threes prior. Now he's feeling it.
Waleed, his rebuttal is true. First 3 of the game for Utah.
Well, he has really made that jump as a player, Waleed, from your freshman to sophomore year. Completely different player this season, and it's amazing that he's still young. Still a lot more improvement he will make.
8 points and 6 rebounds in that midweek win over Cincinnati. Avery trying to get to his spot, and a Utah foul called on Waleed. Already the 5th team foul issued to Utah. Ezra Ausar is in foul trouble for the Utes. He's got 2. He's on the bench. Only played the first 3 minutes. He had 2 by the first media timeout. He will re-enter the lineup for the Utes with those 2 personals.
Well, one thing, Utes don't want to get into foul trouble, but if they do, they play 11 deep in their rotation.
Sumnick, he's fouled underneath by Lovering. The Oklahoma State quickness. This is one of those really intriguing matchups in terms of you've got size and strength against smaller, quicker guards.
Yeah,
Oklahoma State.
That's a great point. And also what's happening, I mean, you've seen Sumnick get positioned inside a couple of times, and he's not a scorer. I mean, that guy is in there for energy and rebounding. And then you've had Avery with a couple of post-ups. So these are things that Oklahoma State hasn't necessarily shown in league play.
Thompson, his 2 is short.
And that's part of the chess match, right? I mean, you're playing an opponent that you really got it taken to 3 weeks ago. You make some changes and see if Utah will adjust back.
Quick passing. Mason Matson lines a 3. Wide left. Offensive rebound, Utah. And a push called on Oklahoma State. 3rd team foul issued to the Cowboys. That one's on Brandon Newman. Media timeout. Oklahoma State with a 9-point lead here at home.
As we embark on the 60th anniversary of the Posse, we want to take some time to express our gratitude for your continued support. Posse members have served as the lifeblood of OSU athletics, allowing us to provide an elite-level experience for our student athletes. And with your help, we can continue fulfilling our mission for decades to come. Cheers to 60 years. Join the posse today. Call 405-744-7301 or visit okstate.com/posse.
Was that necessary?
No. Neither is missing your daughter's competition to do payroll. With Paycom, employees do their own payroll, so you don't have to miss your daughter's big day. Time to shine. Get Paycom and make the unnecessary unnecessary.
What do you want me to do? Cook dinner and pick her up from soccer practice?
Take a number.
Nobody likes to wait.
The shot clock, Madsen has to lock and load, and he drills a three.
So you have to be careful with Gabe Madsen, a lot like Utah has to be with Bryce Thompson. Now, Madsen has not shot it well in Big 12 play, 19% from three, but his biggest games have been on the road. Keep that in mind. At Iowa State, 20, at TCU, 17. And maybe he's a little more comfortable sleeping in a hotel and going to play.
Oklahoma State trying to counter, they can't. Madsen leads the Big 12 in attempts from beyond the arc on the season.
And you got to really extend out on him now.
Massar one-on-one against Thompson, trying to get to his spot. Spinning, great patience, and he puts it home.
Now the game's starting to settle in a little bit for the Utes. They like Massar and his versatility. Had that matchup with Thompson. That's tough one-on-one for the senior.
Utah's on an 8-0 run. To shoot for Oklahoma State against the man-to-man. Thompson double comes. Avery out high, checks the clock. A hoist. Long rebound tracked down by Brantley. Oklahoma State has not turned it over until that pass right there.
Yeah, wide open right there. Just a poor feed from Brantley. Good roll from someone.
Madsen, he's held and fouled on the floor.
So Madsen, you see that right there. That was after the whistle. The shot goes. Now that he's made that, I love the fact on that closeout, having a little bit of an angle, he was willing to drive it with some strength. Got a little hop in his step right now, and if you're a Utah fan, that is a good sign.
You mentioned that Utah's starting to settle in. They're on an 8-0 run. What's clicking for the Utes?
Well, first and foremost, they haven't turned it over. We talked to Coach Smith last night, and we knew what his answer would be. Like, what's key tomorrow? He said, I'm sorry to keep telling you the same thing, is we can't turn it over. And Oklahoma State is very good in transition, too, because of their quickness.
Speared by Newman, missing the dunk, but he's fouled. It'll put him at the line to shoot two. Oklahoma State has not scored in the last 3:21.
Yeah, I hope that, there's the announcer free throw shooting jinx. That's supposedly a thing. Maybe we jinx Utah, who had been much better. That's just careless right there. That's an easy one for Newman. And we were just talking about it. So not only do you turn it over and not give yourself a look, if you're Utah, Oklahoma State all season long has struggled in the half court. They've been better here so far today, but you want to get them in the half court. You don't want to allow them to transition.
This is the third stop of Brandon Newman's collegiate career. Oklahoma State has a 5-point lead. They've led so far wire to wire midway through this first half. Those free throws end in 8-0 Utah flurry. Both coaches told us with the turnovers, because both teams are averaging between 15 and 16 each at non-conference and in league play. And both staffs said it's just careless, self-inflicted turnovers.
And this league will chew you alive, like immediately, and capitalize on those miscues.
Asar against Jennings, lost it. Last touched by a Cowboy, stays on this end. How does Utah get him involved? He just has 2 points. And remember, he scored 9 in the first 3.5 minutes their last game against Cincinnati.
They're getting him his touches. They obviously like that matchup inside. That time Keller kind of a delayed dig down defensively for Oklahoma State.
Ute fell down. They have to heave it out near midcourt. Hero Little operates the show for the Utes. A deflection. Oklahoma State playing inspired on the defensive end of the floor in this first half.
An adjustment they're making too. Guys like Loverine, Keller, some of their bigs who can handle it, facilitate from that top of the key, high post area. The game before, Oklahoma State would back off. Now they're pressuring the ball. That's the adjustment, not making it easy.
Lob over the top and the finish from Lohner.
But Lohner is a really nice piece to have and a great story. His journey to get to Utah. He knows this league well, having played at Baylor for 2 years.
Looked like a receiver high pointing a 30-yard pass, which he did in the ball.
Yeah.
Caught 4 touchdowns for the Utah football team. On the handle, that little half hook back to the well.
Yeah, you can't take it for granted. See, right there, I mean, he goes straight to the block. Usman, plenty physical to keep Lohner out of the paint. Not a good effort right there from him. Lohner just dug it deep.
Utah's on a 12-2 run, and Jennings will toe the line for Oklahoma State. That is the 8th foul called on the Utes here in this first half. It's the first on Asar. The 2 Utes in foul trouble are Dawes and Lover.
Now here's that last possession. See, Usman, I mean, he's inside the paint. You got to get your feet out defensively outside that block. And that's Lohner just being an athlete right there. I would assume he's going to get a look in the NFL. That's a good athlete, tremendous size.
He caught 4 touchdowns for the Utah football team. He had 4 receptions. They were all touchdowns on the season, and then he also blocked a field goal.
I mean, you definitely invite a guy like that to camp and see what happens.
It's a 4-point game. Utah's never led, but hanging around in this first half. Quick hands by the all-time NCAA steals leader, Dean. Dean. Jets baseline, flips it up, and he draws another whistle. And Oklahoma State getting to the foul line as a team. They've made all 6 of their attempts in this first session. That's the second foul issued to Utah's leading scorer, Gabe Madsen.
Well, Oklahoma State, offensively, when they've turned teams over, sometimes they've converted points off turnover, sometimes they have not. See Dean and his great on-ball skills. That's been a concern for Steve, not converting those. And then for a team that's not big, they really rebound it pretty well and attack the offensive glass pretty well. But throughout the course, not a lot of times have they consistently converted second chance points. So those two things, if they do that just a little bit, James, and when the free throw make battle, they can beat just about anybody in this league, assuming they defend and take care of it.
The last 5 points for Oklahoma State coming from the stripe. They haven't made a field goal in over 5 minutes. A foul underneath sends us to immediate timeout. Oklahoma State by 5 here in Stillwater. Oklahoma State ranks second in the Big 12 in steals per game, and they are feasting off of Utah turnovers.
Well, it's crucial for Oklahoma State to turn teams over, to get out and run and use their quickness and get some easy looks. And obviously for Utah, that has just been the one thing. The defense has gotten better. They rebound the ball, and when they don't turn it over, they share it great. But if they continue to lose the turnover margin battle this afternoon with Oklahoma State, that bodes well for the Cowboys. But they really do pressure and disrupt. You talked about Dean, transfer from Florida National, active leader in steals per game. Just if you handle the pressure up front, get the ball moving a little bit, then you have success, right? Utah shoot 50% before. When they have to turn it over, once the game's settled in, they're getting looks.
And that was the story for Utah against Cincinnati earlier this week. They shot 53%, only won by 3 because of the turnovers. over 15 per night in Big 12 play. The points off turnovers in this one, 11-0 Oklahoma State. Cowboys have led by as many as 12 in this first half. Utah winners of 4 of their last 6. 10 on the shot clock. Lohner, deflection, and another Oklahoma State steal. That is their 5th in this first half.
That's a situation where a guard for Utah they see that Lohner doesn't have anything. You got to rotate over and make yourself available. In other words, give him a pass or an outlet. You don't want Lohner handling it for more than whatever the decision is. Lohner either needs to go or get it out of there. But to me, that's a turnover that guards have to cover.
Oklahoma State whistled for an offensive foul. It's called on Robert Jennings. It's only their 2nd turnover. Utah down by 7. They've never led in this first half. To shoot as Mason Madsen loads up a 3 from the top, and he nails it. Number 41 on the year for him.
So most Madsen brothers have gotten the lid off the basket here in the first half.
Oklahoma State with some careless passing out high. They're a long way from the cup. Shot clock into single digits. Dean is terminated, bouncing back door, and he throws it away. Lovering on the scramble. Dawes double clutch and a jump ball. The arrow keeps it on this end with Utah.
Well, so now you have both teams starting to get careless with the basketball. You know, really until the last handful of games. And of course, it's the level of competition too for Oklahoma State. For the most part this year, they've handled it fairly well.
Usman drifting into coverage, intercepting the inbounds pass. They work it around the horn. Keller a good look, spits out. Oklahoma State 3 for 7 from 3. Sharp jumps, pulls up, left it well short. The Cowboys want to run. 2-on-1, Dean keeps it himself. No whistle. And a foul called on Usman. That'll be number 2 on the Oklahoma State center. Hey, tune in tonight for a Big 12 top 25 matchup. 6 Eastern, number 6 Houston. They host number 22 Texas Tech. The Cougs won the only meeting last season, but they'll face a red-hot Red Raider team who's won 5 in a row. It's a big-time matchup at the top of the Big 12 standings on ESPN2 tonight.
So that place will be rock. That is such a great atmosphere out at Tech. I think Grant McCaslin's team is really good. Speaking of improving defensively, that's what's continued to elevate them. So many matchup issues, but they're playing arguably the best defensive team in the country, Kelvin Sampson's Houston team.
A foul on Patrick Sumnick. That is team foul number 7, putting Utah in the 1-and-1. The scary thing about Texas Tech is they are not healthy and haven't been healthy at any point this season. They're winning without some of their key guys. JT Toppin missed time. Darion Williams didn't play midweek against TCU. Front into the 1-and-1 to Brick. Oklahoma State has led this entire first half. Still a 2-possession game. 7-2 at home. There are only 2 home losses to teams ranked in the top 15. And the net as Avery throws it down with a 2-handed slam.
A couple of things. Dawes relaxed defensively. He was originally in position, and then there was late rotation over from Utah. Avery, much more aggressive the last couple of games, attacking the rim with some strength.
A near steal is coming off that 22-point effort against Kansas State midweek. Madsen Anderson relocating, firing, and missing a three. Utah's 3 for 7 from downtown. Under 5 minutes to play in this first session. Oklahoma State's led by as many as 12. Utah's back in the zone. Brantley gets a good look from the wing. It's short. How does Oklahoma State attack that lengthy 2-3 Utah zone?
You have to move it crisp. You can't not be assertive, have some tempo out front, and then you got to get the ball below the free throw line.
Nice touch pass, and Dawes with a thunderous slam for Utah. They have the second most dunks in the entire country. That's number 114.
Which is amazing because they don't turn people over necessarily. It's not like they get those in transition. Those are in the half court, which speaks to two things. One, that size. And the second thing, how great the ball moves. Well, it's like most Big 12 matchups. 2-possession game here. Avery more aggressive again. So too, Utah.
Well, this is the Oklahoma State pink out game. Fans are encouraged to wear their pink in support of the fight against breast cancer. Players wore those shooting shirts and sneakers. The Eddie Sutton Foundation is collecting donations. Some breast cancer survivors, and then the eye scowl at cancer in memory of the signs, and the Eddie Sutton bobbleheads available. A really cool thing here in Stillwater.
Good looking family right there. Scott Sutton's wife Kim and his 3 daughters. Thank goodness they look like Kim.
Now you wouldn't know anything about the Eddie Sutton scowl.
Yeah, it's yeah.
See that a time or two?
You know what's funny is that was a natural look for him almost. It certainly was intimidating, but the scowl was to me exemplified his toughness. And yeah, so it's definitely appropriate that the floor is named after him. Oklahoma State's fortunate. Two of the literally greatest coaches in the history of college basketball, Henry Iba and Eddie Sutton, taught on this floor every day. Great atmosphere it was back in those days under Eddie Sutton.
These are two programs with a lot of history. They both have 29 NCAA tournament appearances. That's top 25 in the country. Utah has the 15th most wins all time. Ausar underneath, nice pass, and a good look from the outside is a miss. Out of bounds, and Utah is 3 for 8 from 3. But they've really been bitten by those 7 turnovers. Oklahoma State getting a lot of their points from the foul line. They're 11 for 12 from the stripe. Lead the Big 12 in free throws made and attempted per game. Trying to expand on a 6-point lead. Dow, a 3, rattles true. He's been a spark plug the last few games.
Yeah, Matson lost his footing. He was trailing and trying to be there on the catch as Dow was coming off those staggards. Lost his footing, and that freed Dow up for the wide open look.
Ezra Ausar underneath, struggling with his dribble. They fumble it out of bounds, last touched by a Cowboy, but just 8 to shoot for Utah. This has been another disjointed offensive trip.
Here's that last possession for Oklahoma State. Got all the action off the curl from Dow, knocks it down. You don't see Matson because he lost his footing off a screen. It's a big shot for Oklahoma State, putting them up 9.
30-second timeout, Utah.
You know, I like that Utah, James, is trying to get Ausar involved, but they're throwing it to one side and immediately getting that touch inside. And Ausar is isolated, but he's well outside the block. But if you swing it and move him block to block or get a cross screen or a rub of some kind and have movement, then enter it, you're probably going to be able to get it to him deeper, if that makes sense. Obviously, Craig Smith likes the matchup with him on some of Oklahoma State's defenders. But credit Oklahoma State. They've made sure he has caught it well outside that block. And that certainly has helped them defensively defend that.
Ausar has just 2 points in this first half. Utah's leading scorer is Wallin with 5. On the other side, Bryce Thompson's had the hot hand for Oklahoma State with a game-high 11. Matson buries a triple. Right off the inbound, he's up to 7. That's his second 3. Utah's trimmed it back to a 2-possession game. Oklahoma State's led wire to wire in this first half. Thompson has to give it up. Brantley, a double comes. Sumnick trailing, and he finishes.
What a really good drive and find right there from Brantley. Turn the corner, get that big to rotate, provided a window for Sumnick.
Brantley second on the team with 48 dimes this season. Madsen, after a head fake, finds the cutter. Wallin, that is outstanding passing from the Utes.
Yeah, when Matson makes the right play and doesn't force shots, he's really effective.
My goodness. A long 3 from Chi Avery.
Yeah, on Avery, you really have to extend. I mean, even though you think he's 4 or 5 feet beyond the 3-point line, when he's at the top of the key and has time to eye it up, he shoots it at a high clip.
Sharp jumps. Working on Thompson, pokes it loose, stays on this end. Quick hands by Oklahoma State. Cowboys have 5 steals in this first half. Both teams shooting around 50% collectively. It's just the turnovers. Ezra Ausar's been quiet in this first half, gets a breather, has just 2 points.
Oklahoma State right here. You set to be sound. You can't gamble late in the shot clock defensively.
Wallin, a one-footed pass, relocates with 3 to shoot. Have to get it off. Matson. And Dow clears for Oklahoma State. A foul called on sharp jumps. in the front court, and that is the 12th foul issued to Utah. So it's double bonus time for Oklahoma State, who's 92% as a team from the line in this first half. Their largest lead has been 12. They led 19-7. Utah got it down to 4, and Oklahoma State's made their last 3 baskets to push it back to 9.
James, I bring it up all the time in these games. The final minute and a half or so is so important, because you're going to get a couple of exchanges here offensively and defensively with the time left and the shot clock down the stretch for both ball clubs. You know, can Oklahoma State get a couple more stops and extend, have tremendous momentum, or conversely, Utah can string a couple good offensive possessions, and all of a sudden you get this back to 6, 7, 8. You go back in, you regroup, and have some positives to talk about. This last minute really can decide what kind of momentum each of these ball clubs have going into halftime.
Oklahoma State's on a 7-2 run. It's an 11-point lead. The flare, sharp jumps, and a whistle, and a foul called on a Cowboy. They call it on Brantley reaching in. This will put Utah at the line. They called that on the floor on the turn, and so it's a 1-and-1 trip for Sharp Jumps, who became the first Mongolian citizen to ever earn a Division I scholarship. In his junior season, averages around 7 points per game. Transfer from San Francisco. Buries the first free throw to get the back end.
That really handles it well. I think next year he'll be a little more equipped for the physical nature, perimeter defensively that you get. But he's got excellent vision, and like I said, I think he's the key a lot of times to their ball movement. Very seldom does he over dribble.
The Oklahoma State coaches compared him to Yegor Dimon, who's going to be a lottery pick in the NBA draft, the BYU point guard. It's about that same height, 6'9". They can handle it.
Yeah, he just needs to get stronger and more physical against pressure.
Thompson one-on-one. And a whistle underneath and a push. It's called on Utah, so this will put Oklahoma State back at the line with 28 seconds left before the half of the shot clock off.
Yeah, that's too bad, because I thought Wallin did a terrific job out front, using his size to keep Thompson in front and contesting. There was an opportunity for a stop and potentially the last possession for Utah.
A miss from Avery. He has 7 points in this first half. The foul was on Mason Madsen. That is his first. Utah's committed 13 fouls in this first half. And Oklahoma State's attempted 8 more free throws. Little offense-defense substitution. Keller in, Thompson out for OSU.
Exactly, James. So you get Dean and Keller, little better defenders out there on the perimeter for this, what potentially would be the last defensive possession of the half.
Oklahoma State trying to carry a double-digit lead into the locker room. All but 2 of their games all season long, the lead has been 10 or more, one side or the other, at halftime for Oklahoma State. Down to 10 seconds and a foul on Oklahoma State reaching in. They call it on Dean. So Utah will toe the line.
Yeah, you know, Dean, obviously a ball hawk and has the quickness, but sometimes, not sometimes, more times than not, there's value just being solid. Everything in that possession was bogging down for Utah in your reach.
And you do it with 10.6 left on the clock. The lead is 9 for Oklahoma State. Utah's done this without a lot of production from Ezra Osar, who has 2 points in his 10 minutes. Gotten 7 from Gabe Madsen and 7 from Wallin. Osar has been averaging almost 15 in his last 6. And Oklahoma State burns a timeout to draw up a play. with 10.6 on the clock, leading by 8. Some Saturday headlines. It's a huge day, not just in the Big 12, but nationwide. Tennessee thumped Florida earlier today, a 20-point win without their starting point guard. It was their 6th straight home win against a top 5 team. The game of the night, especially here in the Big 12, is Texas Tech and Houston. Houston will put the nation's longest home winning streak on the line against a feisty Texas Tech team. Coach Cal, his return to Lexington, led Kentucky for 15 years, won the 2012 national championship. His Arkansas team has struggled this year in SEC play. And Texas Tech and Houston, Kelvin Sampson. Houston with that really heroic win at Allen Fieldhouse, and then they followed it up with a win midweek. Dean with 5 seconds, struggling with his dribble. Avery gets a look. Halftime is here. Oklahoma State by 8 at the break. The Cowboys shot 44% from the floor and hit 5 threes in that first half. They turned Utah over 7 times, and Bryce Thompson with 11 points on 3 for 3 from beyond the arc. Averaging 12 points per game in league play. Has a game-high 11. 8-point lead for Oklahoma State. Trying to get to 8-2 at home. Halftime is here.
We hope you're enjoying the first half. Second half on the way. And, of course, that means it's time for the Halftime Report with Sean Farnham. I'm Zubin Mehenti. We're starting a weekly feature as we sit about 6 weeks away from Selection Sunday, and we're calling it Joe's Super 16.
Let's go.
Yeah, no introduction. We're talking about the man that's been doing bracketology for more than 20 years, Joe Lenardi. He joins us again. This is a feature that you're going to see each and every week on the way to Selection Sunday. All right, Joe, the committee in a couple of weeks is going to hit us with their top 16. Why don't you take us through yours? Let's go region by region to unveil your top 16.
No surprises when you look at number one in the South, the best team in the country all year long, and it's Auburn. No surprises really on all the one seeds. Alabama also from the SEC, Duke in the third position, and then Iowa State. Just keep an eye on the Blue Devils, guys, because with the SEC eating each other alive, the Blue Devils could slip and still be the number one overall seed when all is said and done 6 weeks from now. Elsewhere, a couple of Big Ten teams, Oregon and Illinois, right on the edge of their respective regions. But, man, the South is loaded and the Midwest is loaded. Purdue, as good as anybody right now in the Big Ten, a 3. And Kentucky, maybe some folks think they should be a 2. We'll find out after Saturday's full slate of games in the SEC. But the regions are balanced. You see the true seed numbers in parentheses, and that's what the committee uses to try and make sure each of those foursomes is as evenly seeded and bracketed as possible.
All right, Joe, a lot of teams maybe struggled and hit some roadblocks in November and December. Who has helped themselves out the most in the last month?
I think the best rising story, Sean, is probably Vanderbilt. Here's a team that was picked 16th in the new 16-team SEC, and now they find themselves projected to be in an 8-9 game on Selection Sunday. Mark Byington, a wonderful job in his first year there in Nashville. 2 court storms last week over top 10 teams at home, Kentucky and Tennessee, and I don't know how they pay those fines. They must have a nice NIL budget there, Farney.
Well, I know your NIL budget is strong because I've seen your attire on the golf course, but that's for another time, Joe. I do want to ask you this. We've got these super conferences now, and everybody conference expansion. How does the conference expansion and the increased numbers, because you look at the SEC, you got 13 teams in, 12 teams in, 11 teams out of the Big Ten. Like, how do fans digest the size of these conferences to the number of teams that you're projecting into the NCAA field?
Well, it's just an entirely different universe. For instance, in the bracket that's up now on ESPN.com, 27 of 37 at-large teams from 3 leagues, the SEC, the Big Ten, and, of course, the Big 12. That means only 10 spots, the crumbs, if you will, for the rest of the country. And that rest of the country now includes the Big East and the ACC. So the fans, their biggest takeaway, they're going to see conference rematches much earlier in the bracket, in the earlier rounds, because there's no way to separate that many teams in a 64-team bracket.
Joe, before we let you go, Saturday is really shaping up to be maybe the most competitive, most look forward to Saturday of the regular season. Incredible matchups everywhere you look. What's the one game that's kind of catching your eye that might have some ramifications on your top 16 and then the top 16 moving forward?
Yeah, I'm going right in the noon tip between Florida and Tennessee. Of course, they played that wildly high-scoring game in Gainesville earlier. Here's the rematch in Knoxville. And Tennessee could easily fall to a 3 with a loss, could even be there now. But they've been a 1 for the better part of the regular season up until this point. And the Gators, with a sweep, they could be knocking on the door. And I know there's some SEC folks who think that they could land 3 number 1 seeds from the same conference. I'm not ruling it out. It hasn't happened, though, since 2019 when the ACC did it.
One thing to also keep in mind, the most bids one conference has ever gotten. You have to go back to the Big East in 2011 when they got 11 teams in. And right now, with the way the SEC is playing from top to bottom, they are certainly going to give the Big East a run for their money. This was great. We're going to do this once a week on our way to Selection Sunday with the one and only Joe Lunardi. And your second half is...
Everything you thought you knew is brand new. We on the new way. This ain't what it was. See, when the game changes, so do we. Every day, every play. Always been greater than 12. Now standing 16 strong. In every end zone, any time zone. When everyone else keeps asking, what's next? We know we are
Let's go. There's nothing stopping him right now. This is just spectacular. This celebration is on. Undefeated South Carolina has won its third national championship.
March Madness begins March 19th.
Halftime here in Stillwater, Oklahoma. It's an alumni weekend here at Oklahoma State, and the Cowboys have an 8-point lead, 41-33, behind 11 points from Bryce Thompson, who hit all 3 of his 3-point attempts in that first stanza. The second half is coming up soon. It's Oklahoma State 41, Utah 33 here at the break. Start of the second half, it's 41-33. Oklahoma State has an 8-point lead over Utah. The Cowboys forced 8 turnovers in that first half. They had 6 steals and got a lot of their points from the foul line. They attempted only 15 free throws all game midweek against Kansas State. In this first half alone, they've taken 16 free throws and made 14. They've been led by Bryce Thompson. 11 points on 3 of 6 shooting, 3 for 3 from downtown, 2 for 2 from the foul line. Thompson's been the leading scorer in this game for either side. What has he done for Oklahoma State?
Well, he hit that first one, right? And he's now, with 11 first half points, scored in double figures in 8 straight for Oklahoma State. And so we've seen it a lot in his career. He gets one to go down. They come in bunches, hit those 3 big ones. And you can see it give Oklahoma State confidence early.
Our game summary, Ezra Assar for Utah, just 2 points, averaging 11 per game and over 14 points in his last 6. There's the 11 points off those 7 turnovers from the Oklahoma State defense. Points in the paint lean Utah 14-6.
Yeah, so 7 turnovers is not great, but it's also not the end of the world. The problem is 5 of those have been steals from Oklahoma State. In other words, live ball turnovers. And Oklahoma State's been able to convert. That's a very efficient number. 5 steals, there's 11 points. And look, we talked about it in the first half, James, and it is not rocket science. this game is all about ball security. If Utah handles it better, I think they're the better basketball team, assuming they defend. Well, if they handle it better the second half, it'll be tough for Oklahoma State. But if you allow them to turn you over, them to get out and run where they're really good at finishing, then it makes things a lot tougher. So that's, you know, not to oversimplify, but that's what we're going to look at or look for here in the second half is, can Utah take care of it?
Utah's won 4 of their last 6 games. That all started with their win over Oklahoma State in Salt Lake City by 21, 83-62. It was back on January 11th. And Dean whistled for a walk on Oklahoma State's first possession of this second half. 4th Oklahoma State turnover.
Yeah, that's not what you want. Steve Lutz telling Dean, get the ball moving. And at his size, there's a lot of times he gets too deep. You don't want to get too deep against Utah, because that size is even greater.
He is Brendan Manzer. I'm James Westling. 30 seconds into this second half. Utah struggling with their dribble. A scrum and a jump ball. And the arrow keeps it on this end with the Utes. Utah shot it 46% from the field. They were 4 for 11 from 3. Made almost all of their free throws, won the rebounding, but they were plagued by 8 turnovers, and they committed 13 fouls. They're 1-3 this year in true road games. Sharp jumps a 3, short, barely nicked the rim. And Dean gets undercut. That'll be a foul on Utah.
Number 10.
They call it on Waleed. That's his second.
And another look at it. Both these coaches the first half, James, there's the miss. It's just usually who's latest getting to the ball that gets caught. But both these coaches have had to juggle key personnel being in foul trouble. Usman only plays 8 minutes the first half because of 2 fouls. Lovering has those 3. And if you look back at the game in Salt Lake, Lovering really hurt Oklahoma State with his passing ability. 6 assists that night. And you'd like to get him involved, but he's not been able to get into any rhythm, obviously, because of managing that foul trouble.
Thompson draws a foul on Usar. That's his second personal. This second half starting a lot like the first half ended. Fouls and turnovers. To shoot for Oklahoma State. Usman underneath. Offensive foul called on the Oklahoma State big.
Yeah, what happened right there, that's 3. And that's Usman. He had Keller deep. Put that arm around it. When you get that chicken wing going, there's nothing Raiden Chile can do but call that foul.
It's the 3rd foul issued to Usman. Getting physical and a rise from this Oklahoma State crowd. And a foul called on Bryce Thompson out front. A second foul issued to Oklahoma State here in this second half.
So as players and a coaching staff, now you have to be aware of how the game is being officiated. And obviously this crew right now, if you put your hands on a guy and you're not in legal guarding position, then they're going to blow that whistle. You have to make an adjustment and settle in.
This is the breast cancer awareness game for Oklahoma State. They've tied the balloons to make it all the way around the arena. Deep in the timer. Half hook, rims out. Follow won't go. Usar, he finishes for the Utes.
There's the
they were relentless on that end.
Yeah, James, there's the pounding of the glass right there. And I mean, if you need an example of that size discrepancy, it was right there. As all those bodies standing next to each other, the red ones were much bigger.
Dean, a pretty floater. Oklahoma State back up by 8. Usar against Sumnick. Leaning, drawing a foul. He's so strong, so quick with that footwork, and he's going to the line to shoot 2 for Utah.
Yeah, here it is right here. Multiple opportunities. Sharp jumps, keeps it alive. Big bodies, Keller in there. Look at this pass. Boom. There's Asar with the finish. And now ensuing possession for Utah. Asar back alive. You know, I talked about Asar being a unique player. Active at both ends on the glass. Very good defender. Has versatility there. But what's interesting about him, to me, is you look at numbers at 6'8", he's been to the line 48 times more than any of his teammates. And you saw on that possession right there, he's got such an innate and terrific ability of creating contact when he has the basketball and get himself to the foul line.
Transfer from East Carolina, made the all-freshman team in the American last season. Averaging 14 points per game in his last 6. Has 4 here today. Gets the bounce. Boy, that thing bounced on the back of the rim. Finally dripped through. Oklahoma State leads by 7. Utah really needs this win if they want to be in the conversation for an NCAA tournament berth. A steal, and Asar with the hammer.
That was nice. I mean, pressure on Sumnick. Sumnick not strong with the basketball right there. Asar just kept poking at it. You saw the athleticism. Steal and a run through all on his own right there.
Jennings is terminated. Let's see if that re-energizes Utah on the defensive end. Keller, a 3. Hit it with a hand in his face.
Yeah, Keller is a guy that has a tremendous upside. And in practice, shoots it really well, but it has not translated this year out on the floor.
Asar has all 5 of Utah's points here in the second half. Working against Jennings. Double cups. Madsen fires a 3, it's short.
Madsen made that tougher than it needed to be.
Sumnick taking flight for Oklahoma State. Ten-point Cowboys lead. And a steal. Bouncer ahead and a foul. And it'll put Dean at the line for a pair for Oklahoma State. What an answer from the Pokes.
Well, Utah got it back to a 2-possession game, but quick shots and turnovers lead to transition. Oklahoma State extends it back to 10.
College hoops hits full stride with a doubleheader on ESPN. First, the Tobacco Road rivalry heads to Cameron Indoor.
Duke Carolina always delivers.
Then Coach Cal returns to Rupp Arena for a homecoming like no other.
How special is this?
A blockbuster doubleheader. North Carolina, Duke, then Arkansas, Kentucky, tonight on ESPN.
A huge Saturday of hoops, the first installment of Duke and North Carolina. Coach Cal's return to Lexington. Kansas State went on the road and beat Iowa State in Ames by 19. That game just went final. Arizona survived on the road in another rivalry game at Arizona State. Our game here, Oklahoma State, they lead by 10, 48-38 at our first media timeout of this second half. And Utah scored the first 5 points of this second half, trimmed it to 5. How about the answer from Oklahoma State?
The pressure, right? The tough shot late in the shot clock by Madsen. That Oklahoma State was able to get out of numbers, and that was the Sumnick finish in transition. A couple more turnovers from Utah again. If you want to help Oklahoma State, give into that pressure. But that's a positive for Steve Lutz, because a lot of times through conference play, and albeit most of the time it's been on the road, and they're here in Stillwater today, but when they've had a shift in momentum and a shift in adversity, this team has been slow to respond. I mean, they eventually do, but sometimes the separation is too much. They've responded when Utah has had a little bit of a mini run or some momentum. State has punched back. It's a good sign of Steve Lutz.
Oklahoma State averages 77 per game at home, 64 on the road. Bouncing backdoor, Madsen hanging, can't convert. Loose ball rebound. And a tie-up, and it'll be Oklahoma State basketball leading by 11.
Yeah, nice job of Oklahoma State on the rotation when Madsen went back door, just going from floor to ceiling, straight up and down. Just illegal defensive play. Look, when this Oklahoma State team has defended a little bit of consistency, they have hung in games, and they look more the part. It's just the defensive breakdowns, to me, even more so than the turnovers.
They've won 2 of their last 3 here at home. Keller short on that triple, and a foul on the rebound called on Oklahoma State. That is on Robert Jennings, team foul number 4, and the second personal issued to Jennings. Utah basketball down by 11.
You got Lovering in the game right now. Big 34 with that red headband. He's in the game. He should touch it on every half-court possession.
Utah's taken better care of the basketball to start this second half. Just 1 turnover, and after the rip-through, a foul called on a Cowboy. Lovering draws the foul. That is the 5th team foul on Oklahoma State already here in the first 5 and change.
I don't know if there's a team that has more interesting or unique personnel than Utah, certainly in the Big 12 Conference. Lovering is one of those guys. We haven't been able to talk a lot about him today because of the foul trouble. He really presents some problems out there, especially for smaller teams like an Oklahoma State.
He's 7-1, showed flashes in the non-conference when he scored 25 against Iowa. Charlotte drops 3, too strong, offensive rebound. Madsen gives it up. Double comes on Osar. Madsen, stop and pop, hit it.
Yeah, that is smooth. Yeah, lots of good things there. Osar invited the double team, and then a strong pass to Madsen. And I like it when Madsen drives it, gets to the heart of the defense.
Avery with the answer for the Cowboys. He has been clutch from the top.
And Lovering knew it, that he was a half step slow. You can tell by his reaction. I'm telling you, you have to extend out however far Avery is at the top of the key.
Cross-court skip. Madsen steps into a 3. Rebound batted around. Oklahoma State pulls it out of the pack. Fueling the break, Thompson end to end, and he finishes. Now Baker's dozen, 13 for Thompson, and Oklahoma State has their largest lead of the contest. Osar, he's fouled. He'll shoot 2 for Utah.
Let's look at the last couple of baskets for Oklahoma State. We talked about Avery. I mean, if he has a chance to eye it up, he's 4 feet beyond that three-point arc. But if he has a little comfortability, he'll make you pay. And then Thompson, who has been driving it much better. We've seen him do it in the half court over the last 7 or 8 games, right there in transition. What's happened is quick shots, especially long shots, can almost be like the Oklahoma State forcing in a turnover. And that's how Thompson was able to finish there in transition. Utah's got to be careful with their shot selection, especially as they try to get back into it.
Thompson has played 22 minutes for Oklahoma State, and all the stats that he's had today, maybe the biggest is that he does not have a single turnover for Oklahoma State. Had 5 against K-State earlier in the week. Utah splits the pair, rebound Thompson. Cowboys have led by as many as 14. Trying to get to 8-2 here inside historic Gallagher-Iba Arena. 9 to shoot. Thompson wants it. Fires. Utah tracks down the air ball.
Good stop right there. Sound defense from the Utes.
Osar underneath, had it blocked from behind. Chi Avery draws a foul on the floor. Team foul number 4 on Utah.
Well, you can feel it, James, as we sit right here. The pace of this game picking up more and more. Oklahoma State's been able to get out and run. The terrific block defensively allowed them to run. Certainly favors the Cowboys if it's faster paced. And if I'm being honest, it also takes some of the decision making out of it for them, which I think helps some of their personnel. They can just go play and transition. The game is fast.
That's where Oklahoma State lives. Usman against the football player. A foul's called on Caleb Lohner. 4 touchdowns for the Utah football team, but he's been playing collegiate basketball. 2 seasons at BYU, then 2 seasons at Baylor before wrapping up his eligibility here at Utah.
You know, in some games doesn't play a ton of minutes, but I mentioned the first thing. I think his experience in this league is really helpful to Utah.
Usman the step through, and he draws a foul. What makes his experience so valuable for Utah into a new conference?
Well, absolutely. And I think, in my opinion, Utah has adjusted well. We talked about they're getting better defensively. They're playing more physical. And look, it's not a knock on the Pac-12, but it's just a different style. It's physical. It's more athletic. The officials, assuming you're in correct defensive position, allow a little more physical play. And Lohner's been through it. And he played for a great program in Baylor. Terrific coach. You can share your experiences. And he has done that.
He goes August to March with no breaks. A couple of free throws for Oklahoma State's Usman gives them their largest lead of the day. They continue to build. It's up to 15 points. Sharp jumps the cut. Erickson, he's doubled. Waleen, a 3, in and out. How does Utah get something going offensively?
Well, that was a sound defensive possession by Oklahoma State. And a really good help situations, making sure they shot it from the perimeter.
Cowboys turn it over. They're 4th in this half.
On the floor.
Utah basketball when we come back. Oklahoma State has their largest lead of the game.
Let's find less.
Cowboys fans, I'm here with our season ticket holders of the game. Terry and D, and they be season ticket
Oklahoma State has their largest lead of the contest. It's 15, and 5 of Oklahoma State's last 7 opponents have shot over 50% from the floor. But today in this one, Utah 38% overall. They're just 4 for 16 from downtown, so Oklahoma State guarding at a much higher level.
And they've protected the paint. You know, they haven't allowed Utah to get in there outside of that possession where the Utes had 2 offensive rebounds, got the putback from Asar. You know, their first shot defense has kept everything out. And then it's forced Utah some later shot clock threes that they haven't been able to convert. Utah forced 16 on the game from long range.
0 for 5 to start this second half. Down to 10 on the timer. Turning the corner, Madsen gives it up. This will put Sharp jumps at the line. Mongolian Mike will shoot 2 for Utah.
Nothing fancy right there, but there was ball movement, there was hard cutting, good spacing.
And to your point about being in this new conference for Utah, I mean, they're going to the foul line. Great passing on that possession, but they were still punched physically. The free throw is in for Sharp jumps.
Well, Oklahoma State, you would hope, would respond at least with some toughness today. For 2 reasons. One, January 11th in Salt Lake. I mean, Utah absolutely took them to the woodshed. There's at both ends of the floor. And then with their performance in Manhattan, obviously K-State playing much better, but didn't respond there. They have certainly responded here today.
Newman, a 3 from the corner, short. Usman, offensive rebound. Avery, he's been hot. Oh, that thing swirls out. 3 good looks for the Cowboys. They come up over. Dawes throws it down. Second dunk of the game for the Utes.
Well, that looked like a travel, maybe because it was just awkward. But nonetheless, coming out of that under 12 media timeout, Utah, this group right here, doing a good job of getting back into Oklahoma State, what was 15-point lead.
How does Oklahoma State attack this zone? It's back to the 2-3 for Utah.
Well, the ball's got to move out front. It's got to get flat. That's a flat right there.
Newman's 3 off the mark. Oklahoma State's cooled off from deep. 2 for 6 to start this second.
And the other thing, Usman's got to touch it. I mean, even though he hasn't had a big night, he puts so much pressure on you defensively.
Dawes lost it on the way up. It's out of bounds. Stays with the running Utes on this end.
So against that zone, you ought to be able to at least get him a touch if you're Oklahoma State. Yeah. I mean, there was a few steps there.
Utah 9 turnovers in this contest. Oklahoma State with 7. The Utes have been the team that's cleaned up at halftime. Oklahoma State's on the move.
Yeah, Oklahoma State's up 11, but they need a good possession right here.
Usman with the feathery touch. Nice pass from Brantley.
You have to get it to the heart. And you do it either by an entry pass to the post or driving it to the heart like Brantley did right there. It's just a simple play.
Usman has matched his total from the first meeting. He has 8. Mason Madsen pulls up. Tough. Off-balance jumper. Draws a foul, and he's going to the line to shoot 2, much to the dismay of this home crowd.
And Usman, a good defensive play, rotates over, and he has rotated over well this second half. And then there's one he's got to sit down in the pocket. Easy one for Brantley.
Oklahoma State, the much smaller team, but Brendan, they have 5 blocks in this game to Utah's 2.
They've challenged and contested at the rim.
Madsen's free throw rattles down.
And you mentioned it earlier in the first half, James. You know, Oklahoma State is understanding, at least today, what is their advantage over Utah? It would be quickness, a little more athleticism. And so defensively, they've disrupted Utah, been able to turn them over. And then they haven't conceded those bigs at the rim. They've challenged, even though they're smaller, in many realms.
It's Avery's spot, but not that time. That one pretty early in the shot clock. Utah 3, no. And Oklahoma State controls. Leading by 11, lead pass Avery. Hammer time for the Cowboys. The lead is back to 13.
Well, Steve Lutz, even though Thompson has been better in terms of point production, he's been careless with the ball the last couple of games. And part of it is when the ball's in his hands, he doesn't have his eyes up sometimes. And Coach Lutz talking to him about that a lot. Eyes are up right there, and that is a bullet pass. That's pretty on the money. Great play by Thompson, and a really nice job of Avery being that first big up the floor and rim running for an easy one.
Those are the two guys for Oklahoma State. They've combined for 26. They each have 13, so 26 of the 60, and neither has turned the ball over at all in this contest. Oklahoma State trying to crack this 2-3 zone. Avery from the high post gets in deep with two big long strides, and he lays it in.
Yeah, and Avery likes that shot or ball fake, and then Keller bit. Really good job of Avery selling it right there.
The twin brothers playing keep away out high. Mason's three is in and out. Utah's 0 for 7 from downtown in this second half. Usman, he can't hit this. Not that time. He's 8 for 14 on the year from 3.
Utah needs a bucket right here, James.
Largest lead of the game for Oklahoma State. Erickson relocating. Can't hit. Dow climbing the ladder for the rebound. One of just 3 players back from last year's team, the sophomore.
Well, the last few games in his minutes, there's definitely been some positives. Remember, he got in the game earlier in the first half and knocked down a 3.
Avery. Assar the rebound. Next dead ball will send us to the under 8. Assar baseline +1. They'll count the basket. Oklahoma State, they've led by as many as 15. It's a 13-point lead with Utah at the stripe when we come back. The Pokes in control, trying to get to 8-2 at home.
A little to the left, please. Thank you. A little more.
Oh, I'm okay.
Get your money working, and for a limited time, get 0% interest for 6 months when you open a new Visa credit card at America First.
When you need inspiration, it's worth shopping Smith's. For thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And low prices that add up to big savings, like over $600 in digital coupons each week, and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Smith's, fresh for everyone.
Huntsman Mental Health has been extremely excited and motivated to really support some of the evidence-based work that we're doing in the schools.
We've had thousands of students screened, and many of those youth have been referred to clinical services after those screenings have happened. My reason is my constituents.
My reason is the youth of Utah.
My reason is my students.
We have every reason to invest in mental health. What's yours?
Hey, grab me one too.
and he's done it multiple ways. And James, when he and Bryce Thompson, they have to score for Oklahoma State. But it's not just that, it has to be efficient. So you look at January 11th, he has 13, but he has it on 13 shots. Today he has 15 on 10 shots. Thompson has 13 on 8 shots. So both those guys are scoring in effective ways, not volume shooters in other words. And then you get Newsman some touches where he keeps the defense honest inside. Oklahoma State is different offensively. And it's not just about the scoring, it's how effective they can be, and they have been effective, both those guys together today.
They've combined for 28 points, 8 rebounds, a couple of assists, and no turnovers from either of them.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something else, and they're two of probably the poorer individual defenders at times. They've both guarded with intent and been solid today. I mean, both ends of the floor, those two have been really good.
Coach has told us that's really the key for Avery's minutes, is how does he defend. Cowboys in control with 7 minutes to go. They have never trailed. Sumnick, he'll head to the line to shoot 2. Nice little pocket pass there from Dean, who has a game-high 6 assists today. The foul's on Lovering, and that's number 5 on the Utah 7-footer.
Yeah, just a frustrating afternoon for him. And it's really too bad.
He missed the entire month of November with a leg injury, so it took him some time to get acclimated to this level of basketball, and he did not score today.
And he really makes them unique and good offensively because he has such great vision and touch with his passing. Had 4 assists against Cincinnati the other night. Had 6 and no turnovers the first matchup against Oklahoma State. And you know, Craig Smith's talked a lot about it, that his teammates say it's fun to play with Lever. And the reason is the ball moves and he gets it to you in a timely manner. But if he's not available, it really affects the potential, to me, of their half-court offense. And that has helped Oklahoma State today. Give them credit for better defense. But Levering not playing the minutes you would like has certainly helped the Cowboys.
Utah needs some points. Charles jumps a 3, and he got it. That's the first 3 of this second half for Utah.
And so it's manageable, right? Now you got it to 10. Utah needs to be solid here. They need a couple of stops in a row to switch the momentum.
That got Bryce Thompson off the bench and set to check in at the next dead ball for Oklahoma State. Jennings trying to curl inside, flips up a wild shot, and to clean it up is Sumnick.
Well, not a great look, but what Jennings did do is he forced rotation over because he was relentless driving it on the baseline. And what that did, it freed up Sumnick on that back end for that offensive rebound.
Ossar lost it out of bounds. Stays with Utah on this end, rolled off the leg of an Oklahoma State Cowboy. Here comes Avery and here comes Thompson for Oklahoma State. 2 guys that have been fantastic today. Combined 28 points between the 2.
Yeah, here's that last possession. Or maybe not. But that's what Oklahoma State can do. There it is. Sumnick in his career, James, more offensive than defensive rebounds.
That's a foul on Oklahoma State that'll put Ossar at the line. Just over 6 minutes to go and a 12-point lead for Oklahoma State. 2 storied programs. Utah won the first matchup by 21. And Oklahoma State got beat at Kansas State midweek by 28 points. And they have bounced back. And Steve Lutz told us at shoot-around that he didn't know how it would go. Said they had a really great practice 2 days ago and said shoot-around was not what he wanted it to be.
Yeah, their practices leading up to K-State were evidently very good. And that's been a challenge for Steve Lutz and his staff with this team. Look, they say this is a great group, young men that take care of their academics, no problem off the floor. The connectivity on the floor and knowing what to expect out of him has been the challenge.
Four missed free throws from the Utes.
Congratulations, section 112.
Oklahoma State by 12 with the ball. Utah's just 6 for 11 from the free throw line in this second half. Dean, nice find. Sumnick miss. And a foul called on Utah. It'll put Oklahoma State at the line for a pair. Well, it's a Big 12 Big Monday in Lawrence. The Jayhawks will be looking for revenge after a loss a couple of weeks ago to Iowa State, while the Cyclones try to bounce back after a 19-point home loss to Kansas State today. It's number 3 Iowa State and number 11 Kansas at 9 o'clock Eastern time. Big Monday on ESPN.
Boy, what a huge win by Jerome Tang and K-State today. 5 players in double figures. Doug McDaniel had a terrific game. And when your point guard plays well, especially on the road, that's always going to give you a chance.
K-State's won 3 in a row. Kansas had a large first half lead at Baylor. Osar +1. Hoop and harm for the Utah big. And he's more assertive here down the stretch in this second half. He's got 10 of his points in this second half.
And what you're seeing is he is starting to be a go-to guy. I mean, that's strength right there. Athleticism. They've got him a ton of touches. If you remember the first half, it was with his back to the basket. A little more of him facing up and attacking the rim. And then we talked about his ability to create contact. He gets to the line a ton for Utah.
He has struggled from the stripe today, 3 for 8 from the foul line. 59% foul shooter for the year. Utah's got it back down to 10 again. How do they get over the hump? It's kind of been between 12 and 8.
It stops. You have to have a series of them.
Dean lost it. Thompson tries to throw it off a Ute. The player was out of bounds, and so it stays with Oklahoma State. What a heady play by Bryce Thompson.
Impressive by Wallin, too. He tries to throw it off of him.
Caught it.
Watch him catch him. Dives. Happen to have that backside on that baseline. No, it's about stops. A series. 2, 3, 4 in a row for Utah.
Dean whistled for a walk prior to the foul. Turnover, Oklahoma State, number 9 for the game. Utah will have a chance to get it into single digits.
And again, Dean, when he gets too deep, he gets himself in trouble. Let's see if he shuffles his feet there. He absolutely. I think that's a good call by Kelly Self. The naked eye made you feel like he had that pivot foot established. So there's one stop, James. And down here, just don't turn it over. Get you a decent look.
Trying to feed this guy. Asar with the bucket.
Love it. Love it. That's how you get back into it. Keep going to the well on the offensive end. And then down here is the biggest key for Utah.
A whistle and a timeout on the floor. Oklahoma State's lead has been trimmed to 8, and Steve Lutz wants to talk it over right at 5 minutes left here in regulation from Stillwater, Oklahoma. Well, Utah's on a 10-3 run. They've made their last 4 baskets, a lot of them from Ezra Osar, and it's an 8-point lead for Oklahoma State. Utah climbing back.
Well, 2 things, and I mentioned the first half, that they were going to one side and getting Asar a touch immediately. And he was catching it with his back to the basket well outside the block. What's happened here as of late is either he's facing up isolated in about a 15-foot situation, or in the last possession, you got the pick and roll. So in other words, he's been able to get angles, and they've got something going with him right now. We'll see if Steve Lutz makes an adjustment defensively for Oklahoma State.
He's made 5 of his last 6 shots. 8 to shoot for Oklahoma State, nursing an 8-point cushion. Dean one-on-one against a big, has to fire. Hit it! A long 2 from Arturo Dean.
Boy, he really helped bail out Oklahoma State right there. That was pretty good defense from Utah. Nice job of Dean getting it to go down.
Back to a 10-point lead for Oklahoma State. They've led the entire game. Mongolian Mike with the rock. Turned it over. Avery throws it to a Ute. And a blocking foul called on Oklahoma State. That is their 12th foul. It's double bonus time for Utah the rest of the game. 3rd foul issued to Bryce Thompson.
See, even right there, how Asar was able to create the contact. And the reason that foul's called is because Thompson's moving. But just watch Asar. Continue to watch him moving forward. I think he's really elevated his game, being more assertive. And hopefully, you're Utah becoming a guy late in the games. You're getting this grinder like this, and you're trying to etch your way back in. Someone you get a touch, and something positive is going to happen.
He scored 9 points in the first 4.5 minutes against Cincinnati, so that got Utah off to the hot start. We're seeing the inverse of that here today, where he is finishing strong.
Yeah, and he forced it a couple times against Cincinnati, and then he got in foul trouble.
It's both free throws. 8-point game with 4 and change to go. He's attempted 10 free throws in this second half. Who has to be the guy for Oklahoma State? Foul called on Utah. 3:53 left. 8-point lead for Oklahoma State. The foul is on Wallin. We head to a timeout. We got a game here in Stillwater. Oklahoma State's at the stripe, clinging to an 8-point lead with 3:53 left in regulation.
Well, we've talked about it. Asara has been getting his touches differently, and it's really put a lot of pressure on Oklahoma State. 15 points on 6 shots, and to be honest with you, he was a little bit better free throw shooter. I mean, he's 5 of 10, about 60% on the year, but he's got to keep going there. But there'd be more damage if he's able to convert some more of those free throws.
Started his playing career at East Carolina. Made the all-freshman team in 2022, 2023. His family owns a skincare and candle business. He also has a brother that's a multi-platinum music producer. He's worked with names like Nicki Minaj and Justin Bieber, Travis Scott, just to name a few.
Man. Very much talent in that family. It's impressive.
Thompson's been impressive today for Oklahoma State. Pushes it to 9. You can hear a pin drop in here as he releases the second and gets them both to go, and it's back to a 10-point lead for Oklahoma State. Madsen wanted that 3. Two-man game with Asarni, lost it out of bounds. It was stripped by a poke, so it stays with Utah with 12 on the shot clock. Points in the second half for number 2 in red. One-on-one with Jennings. Turns, the dip, miss. Rebound Oklahoma State and a foul on Utah. That was mono down low.
Yeah, for Oklahoma State, probably the best equipped to match up with Asar is Robert Jennings, because at 6'7", he's also strong and athletic. Asar really trying to turn the corner right there. Jennings stays strong, just misses that bunny. Able to go get that rebound.
Asar commits the foul. It's number 4 on the Ute big. Both teams are over the limit in the double bonus, and Oklahoma State, Jennings, their best foul shooter at 84% for the year. The Cowboys have led by as many as 15. Jennings gets them both. Oklahoma State looking for their 3rd league win. They're 8-2 this season at home. Quick passing. Erickson trying to burrow into the lane. Oklahoma State knocked it loose, and then they're called for a foul.
Foul on the Cowboys.
Fouls on Avery. That's his 3rd personal. Well, you can help people affected by those devastating California wildfires here in 2025. Donate at redcross.org/ESPN to help the Red Cross respond and help people recover. That's redcross.org/ESPN. Utah's Erickson at the line.
And we'll see right here, James, if Utah in this situation, opportunity, they do have some full court zone pressure that they can throw on the trap. Out of that, see if Craig Smith does it here with 3:09 left.
They've cleaned up the turnovers in the second half. But Oklahoma State's been efficient offensively, 10 for 20 from the floor, shooting 50%. The rebounding today in favor of the Cowboys, 30-26. Here's that pressure and a deflection. Oklahoma State basketball. Just over 3 minutes to go, a 10-point lead for Oklahoma State. Thompson and Avery have combined for 30 for the Cowboys. Avery cycles it out.
Big stop right here for Utah. Just be solid, make sure Oklahoma State gets their look over the top of a contested shot.
Usman, it poked away from behind. 7 to shoot. Utah is 2 stops and 2 scores away from this being a very interesting game.
Yeah, inside out right here if you're the Utes. Defend without fouling. Huge.
Dean has it. Dean against Rob jumps. Out to Thompson, a 3. Got it!
And you have to be solid. Asar gambles right there.
Bryce Thompson is tied a season high. He has 4 threes in this one and 18 points on 9 shots.
Here it is. And you'll see, this is late in the shot clock. Asar didn't need to go there. Rob jumps, used his side, had Dean in front. Dean wasn't going to get anything out of that. Asar leaves his man, which is Bryce Thompson, who is, as you just said, been shooting it great here today. Those are the type of plays, I'm telling you, turnovers or breakdowns defensively in this league, you will always pay the consequences.
Utah's got most of their points from the foul line as of late. They haven't made a field goal in over 3 minutes, and another miss. Madsen got the second. 2 looks from Gabe Manson. It's back down to 10. Oklahoma State on top with 2:18 left. Full timeout, Utah. It's a 10-point lead for the Cowboys with 2:18 to go, trying to get to 8-2 at home and 3-7 in league play. Saturday storylines. It's been a wild day of college basketball. Number 20, Missouri took down Mississippi State 88-61. Consecutive road wins for the Tigers against top 25 teams for the first time since 98-99. How about Kansas State? They beat number 3 Iowa State in Ames 80-61. Their first road win against a top 3 team since 2017. Doug McDaniel with 20 points and 5 dimes for the Wildcats. And then tonight it's Coach Cal. His return to Lexington. Spent 15 seasons at the helm of that Kentucky program, won a national championship in 2012. That'll be the headliner. Oklahoma State with a 10-point lead with 2:18 to play. All these teams in the top 20 of the net rankings: Houston, Iowa State, Kansas, Texas Tech, and Arizona. Kansas has a tough road game at Baylor. They haven't won in Waco since 2020. They've built a huge halftime lead. Texas Tech and Houston tonight at 6 Eastern on ESPN. That one's on ESPN2. It's Big Monday. Kansas and Iowa State on ESPN.
And you see Arizona in the net there. Your eyes tell you they're a top 20 ball club right now.
Totally agree.
And they obviously went to a rival's environment today in Tempe and beat the Sun Devils. Arizona had a tough schedule. They weren't clicking early on, but Tommy Lloyd has done a great job. I mean, they're ultra talented.
Thompson gets freed up for a gimme. Well-designed play during the time.
Yeah, it was. And Utah has to pick up and pressure. Oklahoma State makes them pay right there. Great execution by the Cowboys.
Inside of 2 minutes. Utah down by 12 with possession. Madsen fires away. And a whistle. And a foul called on the rebound. It's called on Oklahoma State. It's on Thompson, so it puts Utah at the line where they've attempted 16 charities here in this second half. That's the 4th foul on Bryce Thompson. He has a game-high 20 points. Has not turned it over once. No turnovers for the senior.
Well, when Steve Lutz goes back and thinks about this and they look at it on film, the 20 points and the way that Thompson has done it, that's great, obviously. And we talked about it in the open. That's what they need out of him. But the ball security, the response after 10 turnovers the last 2 games, and then the defensive effort Way better. And I would throw Chi Avery in there as well. I mean, you want them on the floor because they can score a little bit, but the problem at times has been in certain matchups, to be quite honest, Big 12 coaches will attack those two. And today they stepped up. That's the kind of two-way player performance Steve Lutz and his staff need out of those two.
They've combined for 35 of Oklahoma State's 76 today. Oklahoma State has clamped down defensively, especially here in the second half, holding Utah to 36% shooting over the final 20 minutes and 16% from 3, 2 for 12. Dean is at the line for the Pokes, 72% marksman. First one rims out. Oklahoma State has a quick turnaround. They'll play on Tuesday at Houston. There's no lull in the schedule for Oklahoma State by any means.
Well, obviously Houston playing at the highest level right now. The next several for Oklahoma State. But after Houston, you have 3 or 4 at home. Oklahoma State, a different team here in Stillwater. We saw it this afternoon.
Down to 90 seconds. Oklahoma State leads by 12. Hounding Matson on the perimeter. Wide right. Offensive rebound, Dawes. And one. Looking for 3 the old-fashioned way. Keanu Dawes has 8 points for the Utes.
Yeah, great job of Dawes. We haven't talked a lot about him today, but I like Asar. Really talented. Love right here. Goes after it with 2 hands right over the top of Thompson. And there's an example of that size advantage that Utah has.
Well, Thompson fouls out with 1:20 left in the game. It's a 10-point lead for Oklahoma State. He finishes with a game-high 20 points. Did it on 6 of 10 shooting, 4 for 4 from 3.
So I would say, and obviously because of proximity, I see Oklahoma State a lot. This was Bryce Thompson's best, most complete game of his career. And here's why.
Wow.
Yes, and here's why. The way he scored effectively. His effort defensively is as good as it's ever been. And then he has 7 rebounds.
Matson's 3, he got it. It's a 7-point game with 1:15 to go. With Bryce Thompson off the floor, who has to take over for Oklahoma State to survive?
There's Matson right there, who, as we know, gets that open look, can fill it up in a hurry, cuts it to 7, will make it interesting. The game not over. I mean, how many times have we seen this?
Is Avery the guy that has to step up with Thompson out of the game in foul trouble?
Well, to me, yes. I mean, he's a matchup there. Usman if he's in the game. But when you're up 7 with 1:15, James, it's about your guard play at both ends of the floor. Your decision making. Certainly can't turn it over. Right. How you break this pressure. We've seen Oklahoma State get themselves in some tough spots, and we saw recently also them execute, and Thompson got a lay-in.
There's the game summary. 1 timeout left for Utah, 2 for Oklahoma State, so they can burn one if they get in trouble. And a whistle. And a foul is called. Thought it may have been a tie-up.
Yeah, that's too bad right there because you had Avery on that sideline. And again, it's not just the trap. Remember, this Utah team has some size. You have to get out of that. Avery, fortunate that the foul was called right there.
Avery's a 73% foul shooter. 3 for 4 in this one today. Knocks it down. 8-point lead for Oklahoma State. 3-possession game with 1:13 to go. Crazy things can happen in this Big 12 conference. Houston had a 6-point deficit they had to overcome to push it into overtime with 10 seconds to play in Lawrence earlier this week. It's a 9-point lead for Oklahoma State. Usman checks in to provide some length for Oklahoma State.
Yeah, and you have 4 guards out there defensively for Oklahoma State. So obviously Utah's going to be looking for threes here, being down 9.
Madsen, a hoist, miss. Usman, the rebound. Keller trying to split the defense. He lost it, and then a foul called, and it's on Keller. So it puts Utah at the strike with 59 seconds to play.
Well, you get the stop. Usman with the board, and Keller right there. You know, that double team comes and you're dribbling. You either got to pick it up and be strong out of the trap or retreat. Drag that twosome towards you and get out of there and advance the ball. So Keller's mistake there gives Utah a little bit of life.
Dawes had 16 in the first time these two teams met. He's Utah's leading rebounder on the season, the transfer from Rice. 8-point game, a minute to play here in Stillwater. Utah's won 4 of their last 6. They're trying to get to 500 in league play.
And I like what Craig Smith does also. He sends a guy to the scores table once the ball for the second shot, so that if it's made, you have to check him in, and allows you to set up your pressure better.
Oklahoma State hits Dean on the run. Brantley, they're trying to track him down. 48 seconds left. Keller weaving his way through the defense. Now the shot clock's at 13. You foul with 11 to shoot. It's on Gabe Madsen. That's his 4th personal.
A lot of time passed right there. Credit Oklahoma State. They did a great job. Those 4 guards continuing to move the ball quickly. Use the dribble to separate. That helps you because it just chews off a few more seconds. Utah not able to get that foul call.
Brantley at the line for Oklahoma State, a miss. A 73% foul shooter on the year. This free throw to try and push it to an 8-point lead. Splits the pair.
Gotta be quick right here. Best look, 2 or 3, doesn't matter. It's got to be quick.
Sharp jumps. Trying to hit Madsen. Madsen, a deep fall-away 3 is an air ball. Oklahoma State lets it sail out of bounds with 28.3 on the clock and an 8-point lead.
Now, great job of Oklahoma State just switching. Obviously, Utah looking for that 3. Asar and Madsen got tangled up right there. Spacing was not great.
Baseball pass, down over the shoulder. Brantley right down the middle, and he's pushed from behind by Wallin. With 22.7 on the clock, and that will foul out Jake Wallin for Utah.
That's a pretty risky pass right there, but Keller on the money to Dow in stride.
Only 10 turnovers for Oklahoma State in this one, well below their season average.
Well, Utah hasn't been a team that has turned people over.
Right.
And so that they're a containment, use their size defensively to keep things in front type of defensive ball club. But Utah, they cleaned it up the second half in terms of ball security. And if I was a betting man, I would have thought that it'd be closer at this point. But Oklahoma State has played a really complete game today. Several players stepped up.
Asar, a 3, short. Rebound, Oklahoma State. Craig Smith telling his guys not to foul. Waving the white flag with 10 seconds to play. Oklahoma State's going to move to 8-2 here inside Gallagher-Iba Arena. A nice win for the Cowboys, 81-72, our final score.
Yeah, like I said, James, complete game this afternoon for Oklahoma State. You get 37 points on just 20 field goal attempts from your most talented perimeter players in Thompson and Avery. You out-rebound Utah, who had size advantage, but ultimately, at the beginning of the game, Oklahoma State was aggressive, not passive like they were in Salt Lake, and much different performance for the Cowboys. Good win.
Entering today, all 9 of Oklahoma State's Big 12 games had been decided by 10 or more points, one way or the other. It was a 9-point win for the Cowboys here this afternoon. For Brendan Manzer, I'm James Westling saying so long from historic Gallagher-Iba Arena in Stillwater, Oklahoma. 81-72, Oklahoma State takes down Utah. All games airing on the ESPN networks are streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of Big 12 basketball on ESPN.